Hi everyone, and welcome to Jane Talks Murder, where I'll be talking about and reviewing an episode of Poirot, Murder She Wrote, Diagnosis Murder, or Jonathan Creek. Today I'm looking at Poirot, The Disappearance of Mr. Davenheim, or as I like to call it, that time Poirot stayed at home. We begin the episode with this beardy man coming home, which the maid reports to Charlotte, who's nosing at some fancy jewellery. This is super awkward. They discuss some guy Gerald coming to visit, who they both talk about unfavourably, but Gerald seems to be pulling some strings at the bank Matthew works at. Wow, this is an unhealthy amount of apples. Charlotte stares dramatically at nothing, while Matthew plays some music and does some paperwork, and then tells Charlotte he's going to catch the last post before meeting Gerald at the station.
Matthew!
Okay then, sure, just go stare at him walking into the fog. Poirot is watching a magic show where this half-assed butterfly woman follows a candle around before disappearing. Everybody clap! And while Poirot says humans disappearing is impossible, Japp tells him about Matthew Davenheim. He basically went to catch the post and hasn't been seen since, because Gerald turned up at the house that day swearing he hadn't passed anyone on the way up. And despite waiting for hours, Matthew never returned and Gerald left. Charlotte rang around and the maid got the police involved, but while everyone saw Gerald, no one saw Matthew. Poirot gets all philosophical, so Japp bets him he can't solve the case in 7 days without leaving the apartment, and Poirot accepts, providing Hastings is allowed to leave to gather information. Japp investigates while Hastings squirrels about, asking the maid about the colour of Gerald's trousers, and Japp asks Charlotte about the rivalry between Gerald and Matthew, as well as establishing Matthew often did business in South Africa. Charlotte says she sensed something bad was going to happen, and back home, Poirot explains the bet to Miss Lemon, who seems to have 666 written in her hair, while Hastings talks to Merritt, who says he saw 2 vagrants, 1 blind, and a girl on a bike on Friday, but no one else. Hastings reports back to Poirot and mentions Gerald races cars, while Japp and his men search the water and find Matthew's clothes, which freaks Charlotte out. And the next day, Miss Lemon tells Poirot she thinks the whole bet is dumb, seeing as a man's life is on the line, before he receives a delivery of a parrot. Hastings goes to see Gerald at the racetrack and nerds out about the car before getting told off for sitting in it. Gerald doesn't want to talk to Japp or Hastings, especially when they say he has a motive, and he makes things worse by knowing something he shouldn't. These hats must have been on a 2-for-1 deal. Back to Poirot, who says Matthew hasn't been kidnapped and there is no body if it is a murder, so the case doesn't make sense.
Please, do not fraternize with that creature. I am still training him.
It's only a parrot.
I was talking to the parrot.
And Charlotte hears the staff speculating that Matthew has simply left her, so now would be a terrible time to discover the safe has been broken into. Japp reports this to Poirot, who sends Hastings with him to put on a little play for Charlotte, and after Hastings coughs up a storm, he excuses himself to go poke around the study and play with the safe. He is of course caught because he's incredibly loud, but Poirot is proud of him because it proves that Gerald couldn't have robbed the safe while he was waiting for Mr. Davenheim in the study. Okay, we have some old-timey footage of a car race, that's nice. Hastings is having a whale of a time while Japp wanders off bored and is robbed by the blind vagrant who does a runner but is caught, and a local cop identifies him as being previously arrested for pickpocketing. Japp calls Poirot to report Matthew's ring in the vagrant's pocket and then gets up in his business in the prison cell until he says he was chilling by the water on Friday when someone chucked the ring into the bushes. Someone, Japp tells Poirot, that looked like Gerald. Poirot says it's convenient that Japp was robbed by a witness in the case he's been working on, and wonders why someone would remove the ring from Matthew only to turn around and throw it away. But then he gets an epiphany. He says he needs to know 2 things and sends Hastings to go bug Charlotte and report back, where he says the Davenheims had different bedrooms and lists what was in their bathroom cabinet, before Poirot says the bank is about to crash. Japp wants to know how Poirot knew the bank was going under, and Poirot says there are 3 points. Matthew's time in South Africa is significant, he and Charlotte hadn't shared a bed since he got back, and there was something in the bathroom cabinet that didn't belong. They all go to witness Billy, identifying Gerald as the person who ditched the ring, and he goes ballistic. Well, that escalated quickly, and while Japp thinks that proves guilt, Poirot says Gerald is simply a douche. Charlotte shows up and is shocked when she sees Billy, who tries to run. But why?
Gentlemen, may I present to you the missing merchant banker, Matthew Davenheim.
That's why. Poirot explains Matthew had been embezzling money from his own bank for years to buy precious gems he planned to run off with, and engineered Gerald to be at the house to take the fall. He broke into his own safe the day he disappeared by using the music to cover the noise, and emptied it off and planned to get arrested to cover his own disappearance. Something he'd done previously, not actually been to South Africa, to establish his alias as a criminal pickpocket. He wore a fake beard to switch between characters, which is why it was odd that there was a razor in the cabinet, and he didn't share a bed with his wife because she would have noticed. Japp pays up, and Poirot gets annoyed by the parrot, so performs a magic trick on it, which doesn't work.
Ah, well, at least it was worth a try.
Okay, this was a simple little episode which I really enjoyed. There were hardly any characters in it, so I think it lended itself well to not having a murder in it. Instead, we had an intriguing little mystery about a missing man, which turned out to be way more complex than first thought. You could tell right off the bat there was something up in the Davenheim household, but you would never guess just what was going on. A rich and successful banker and a supposedly blind vagrant wouldn't have anything in common, and in the book you wouldn't have a visual reference to connect them together. However, here you see both men having significant screen time, but still it's far from obvious that they are the same person. It definitely caught me by surprise the first time I saw it, and even now, watching with the knowledge of what the twist is, it's still hard to determine, which can be put down to the directing and acting. While I prefer a murder or two in my episodes, the question mark over the fate of Mr. Davenheim, coupled with the reveal, kept the story interesting enough. And add to that, Poirot solving the whole thing from home while dabbling in amateur magic really made this one an enjoyable little watch. So there you have it. That was The Disappearance of Mr. Davenheim. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or come say hi on social media. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button, it really does mean a lot, or consider subscribing if you want to keep investigating with me. Alternatively, feel free to check out my other YouTube channels. Thank you so much for watching, I'll speak to you soon, and keep an eye out for clues.